yours.
Okay, great. So my name is Nairim. I lead the talent acquisition team in Latin America for Alorica. And today I'll continue pretty much what we already started in previous presentations. And this is more related to the ability to adapt and embracing change, right? And specifically talking more related to COVID-19 impact to high volume BPO recruiting in LATAM. So let me know, guys, if there's any issue with the audio or the presentation. And okay, so pretty much part of what we had, and I guess this happened to many of you, and I think what really makes a difference is what situation we're working on. But when this whole pandemic started, we have presence in 7 countries within LATAM, and pretty much from 1 to the 3rd day, we all had to say we're going home. Who have equipment, who have internet ability and capability, so they can connect from home. We started to receive classes that were canceled for the next week or so because of the pandemic. And as we work with different industries, different clients, we also had clients that because of the pandemic, their volume of calls increased. So we also had, we need a class for next week, we need a class for the next day. How can we make this happen, right? So when we were closing Q2, I asked the team, can you guys send me some ideas how you would describe Q2, right? Based on all the challenges and the successes and the wins that we had to go through. And one of the team members, his name is Jose Colinder, he sent me, he prepared this video. And well, I'll share first a video that I shared at the beginning of the first 2 to 3 weeks, kind of to keep the team motivated and making sure that we're celebrating success in that first stage. And then I'll share the one that the team member made. So let's start with this one. I want to make sure.
Hi, Nairim. Max here. Hello, Nairim?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we just want to let you know that the audio did not come through on your video. Sorry about that.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Then I guess, well, let me get on the presentation. Let me see if that works. Okay. So I'll continue with the slides then. Okay, so let's see. Can you see the slides though, Max? Or no?
Yes, we can see the slide. Great. We just didn't hear the music.
So I'll just move on to the deck. Okay, great. So pretty much what happened was that we had to move from 0% work at home employees, and it's interesting because it's something that past in the last 10 years, we've had conversations in the past, not only in Alorica where I work today, but also in previous companies in which we talked about, is it possible to do work at home for LATAM? And every conversation we had about that, it's too risky. There are many limitations in terms of internet and equipment capability and different situations in each one of the countries. And it never took place, not even a pilot, right? And then in a matter of 3 to 4 days, we were able to move pretty much from 0% work at home employees to 85% work at home employees. And not only that, from a talent acquisition perspective, we were doing all the process of extending an offer, having the applicants complete assessments, interviews, and all that on site. We moved 100% to do it remote and virtual, right? So this all happened in pretty much 5 days or less. We moved from having stable 12 weeks hiring forecast to a short time notice changes in hiring, right? From we have to cancel this class because of the pandemic and the volume and the restrictions of each one of the countries, to we need 100 more people for the next day because volume is going up in one of our for one of our clients, right? We moved from a 19% conversion rate to a 9% conversion rate, and it's many reasons behind that, and part of that was covered in the previous presentation. We moved from hiring within the city limits due to commute and transportation restriction to have the ability to hire outside city limits and actually in other cities, right? We moved from having a very smooth kind of massive recruiting process in which in less than 2 hours you would interview an applicant for the first time and you would end up extending an offer that same day with less than 2 hours, to having to have follow-ups in several days to complete the process because of the virtual and not having the applicant 100% focused in the time they first applied, right? We moved from only kind of evaluating assessments for language and job competency, soft skills, to add additional filters in the process, such as work at home personality tests, candidates' devices capability, internet speed, and all that. So it was an interesting journey, and that's kind of what we talk about. How do we adapt to the circumstances? How do we have that ability to adapt to changes, and more than that, embrace them, right? So this was the other video. I'm gonna move on how we made that happen, right? And Talkpush was part of that partnership from a vendor's perspective that helped us achieve a lot of what we did in those times, right? So we started leveraging our tools for work at home recruiting. And with that, we have channel integration. We made sure that every job posted in anywhere we had would connect to the CRM, to the Talkpush, so we could have everything all in one-stop shop pretty much, right? We moved to work quickly with the team and Talkpush to launch the in-call feature. We were able to have, we had one country specifically that was not able to do recruiting at that point because of some country restriction, not even work at home at that time because of some furlough agents. So that team was able to help with other countries that were heavily recruiting at 100% pretty much with that feature from Talkpush, kind of having live calls with applicants from other countries. We cross-trained the team pretty much to be able to complete any step of the process, because bottlenecks we could have had at site were totally different when we talked about remote recruiting and virtual process. So that's part of that. We continue using the smart filters, making sure that we had some automated DQ. We added questions and filter into the chatbot and the automated part of the process from a pre-screening perspective. We were able to launch in some of the countries the WhatsApp bot, implementing pretty much the most used messaging app in LATAM, and that also helped a lot. And then the face interaction, we made sure that recruiters were using video calls every time possible so they could keep candidates engaged during the process, and also making sure we were also having some exposure from a branding perspective, wearing Alorica branded shirts and some background items with the brand, so we could keep on kind of working on how do we make that work. So part of the success that I'm able to share here, it's we, besides everything that I'm mentioning in terms of challenges, we were able to increase the applicant flow by 34%. We noticed a quality of hire improvement as well. This is measured by the retention by 30%. We also noticed there is an employee and net promoter score that we generate in the first 5 days after the applicants are hired, after the new hires has pretty much completed the first 5 days of training, and it is very specific to recruiting. So we also noticed a 10% improvement on that, and I think most important in most of the companies from a financial perspective, we were able to have 37% saving from the advertising cost centered as pretty much when the pandemic happened. Many people had some issues and lost their jobs and all that. So we were one of the fortunate industries that keep on hiring, and we kind of like, this is what we have here. We shift to deliver over 6,000 jobs in our communities, right, during these times, and that's something to definitely celebrate and providing that help for the communities and at the same time helping the business as well. It's a win-win. So we're very excited about that. And moving on, this is part of the campaigns, also how we shift from having pretty much advertising job fairs and universities, having most of our activities face-to-face, going outside to the malls, to the universities, to the different places, to have job festivals and all that, to how do we do it online? How do we do the job fairs online? How do we partner with job search engines to do it as well, events online and all that. So we were successful and definitely it translated to the results that I previously showed. And finally, kind of some thoughts about this. So how do we embrace change at the end? If we look at the whole picture, how challenging it was at the beginning and how do we solve it and how did we solve it and what was that? How do we get out of that and how did we do it, right? So we make sure to increase communication within the team, stakeholders and applicants, right? We practice empathy and we tried our best to be authentic and transparent because there was a lot of unknown that we could have not known, right, at that point. So we were very transparent with that as well. We identify opportunities from the bottleneck that I mentioned to what the changes meant and how would that impact every step of our processes. We did brainstorm such sections. We were sure to include everyone within the org and listen and empower others, right? We learned from mistakes. We thought outside the box at that point. We fostered an innovative approach. And most important, we created a plan and we executed, right? After that, monitoring the progress, constantly challenge the status quo, gather new perspective, and make sure that we evolve around that time, right? We definitely recommend to make the changes work for us, and that's kind of the main thing of embracing the change. Take advantage of the opportunities, focus on transition with an open mind, and most important, I would say, the eagerness to win and learn something from that. As a result, we develop playbooks, workshops, and training sessions documenting new processes and best practice so we could share. And definitely we celebrate success, right? So that's part of it. And then finally, what is next, right? So we're in this stage of the process in which what is the new normal? Is the new normal forever, or will this change or not? So the true and the reality is we don't know, but for sure what we have discovered at this point is that there is work at home capability within Latin America. So that's a good news overall. We're looking forward from a health perspective that things get stabilized. And that would also be something good from a business perspective, right? Because now we can talk about how do we increase LATAM footprint and keep growing with both work at home and on-site capabilities when possible, right? At the same point, we have to redesign talent acquisition structure to support long-term strategy with both work at home and on-site. We have to drive consistent and repeatable TA hiring processes to deliver quality talent for our business demands. And definitely at all the time, assess and maximize usage of current TA systems and tools, right? We want to make sure that we continue increasing in automation, artificial intelligence while we improve applicants' experience. And constantly evaluating and reinventing, right? To keep differentiating Alorica in this case or our companies in the marketplace and delivering results. So that's all I have. Thank you for taking this time with me here.